For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
And welcome to the Wednesday edition of Follow the Money here on VSiN. Dave Ross and Shaun Keane coming at you today from Mitch and Paul as they continued their much-needed vacation. Because it is early for guys like us that normally work nights or different shifts across the network. Shaun, I woke up today and I said, man, I'm really excited to do the show with the King. And then, you played a lot of years in the NFL. I had a neck this morning when I woke up. And I thought, can I complain to a former quarterback about what it's like when when you wake up? Like, was that every day for you during the season?
It really wasn't, but it was. It was more like a post-workout thing, but now it's because I have a massive head and my neck hurts. But
just something you just deal with.
You have your aches and pains.
Yeah, that's all.
It gets better.
Thank God. I hope so. It got better for the National League last night, Shaun, because you and I, again, let's pull back the curtain a little bit. You and I talked to each other during the afternoon, kind of just to get a vibe of what we thought this game would be. We both agreed. We didn't feel like there was a huge house advantage, if you will, to back the National League. But we felt like the National League was the right side, not because the curse to end it had been over decades since the National League had beaten the American League here. But we just felt like top to bottom a little bit better, right, with some of the injuries in the American League as well. And the under would be the play. Boom. National League in the under, 3-2. Made us sweat it out a little bit. 2-run home run in the top of the eighth to get it done, but they do finally get it home.
Never in doubt, Dave. I mean, they fell behind. They tied it. Then they fell behind again.
Had a home run taken away.
Then I thought we had tied the game, and they took that homer away. And then in the ninth, Craig Kimbrell, I might have had 3 strokes as he did everything possible to lose the game late. But all's fair in love and hate. And National League won and the under hit. Great job by Josh Appelbaum, too, who actually said that even though 72% of the money was on the over, that number did not change. It actually closed at 7. It was 7.5 yesterday morning when myself and Tim Murray were talking about potentially betting the under. It closed at 7 at most shops. So good call by him.
I'm going to have Josh Appelbaum join us here at the bottom half of hour number 1 here on Follow the Money this morning. So we'll get more of his thoughts here. A couple days off, obviously, from Major League Baseball before they get at it on Friday. But, I'm watching this game last night, and a couple takeaways from me. One, we talked about it all weekend, certainly on my show on The Handle. It's out of the big 4, no disrespect to the other 3. It's the best one to watch. Like, if you're really watching it, not just necessarily from a gambling perspective, but just for entertainment. You saw great defense. Austin Riley had a hell of a play at third base, and you see guys still trying. I'm still trying to take you out of the yard. You're still trying to punch me out. It still feels like real baseball. But then I'm looking at some of these averages. And, Shaun, this is where the game has changed for me in the last 30 years. I'm looking at some of these guys and I'm going, All-Star. Like, I love Pete Alonso. Everybody knows I'm a Mets guy. Love the polar bear. 26 bombs, third in the bigs. He's hitting 211. He's hitting 211, and he's an all-star. And that's new age baseball, Shaun. Nobody thinks twice about it.
It's interesting because I think it was Freddie Freeman and then Araz from the Marlins. When their batting average was posted and it started with a 3, it was like shocking because I saw so many 256s and 240s.
Right.
I'd agree. I thought maybe I was like tripping a little bit last night, but I noticed that as well.
And again, it is what it is. This isn't like, you can yell at it all you want. The change of the game, it's not going back, right? But now because we have so much adjusted stats in Major League Baseball, which we use to our benefit, certainly as a gambling network, right? I mean, it's a great way to use those numbers to your advantage. But when I just look at the raw numbers, at the way they've changed in 30 years of what now is what we look at as effective.
How much of the competitiveness of that particular event is spillover from the whoever wins gets home field in the World Series? Like, if you heard the commentary, you could tell that Jeter and and not Poppy. Poppy was talking about his chain falling down the drain, but
yeah.
Jeter and A-Rod were kind of like, there's a little edge to them about winning and losing this game. Like, I do think it's by far the most competitive of the big sports. Basketball kind of gets competitive.
Maybe
it's
the
close
fourth quarter.
in the fourth quarter, last 2 minutes. NFL Pro Bowl is a joke. Tyler Huntley make the NFL Pro Bowl this year, so I don't put any take into that.
And again, we talked a little bit about before the show here. It feels like at Fox, this is the Jeets reintroductory program here after a stint down there in Miami. And so they asked Jeets, and they're like, yeah, the conversation was, we're not losing to those guys.
Right.
Like, he's like, hey, we had a pretty good run of my time for the American League. And the American League just had a great run until the National League ended it last night with their win. I hope it gets back to that. I don't want, for old people out there like me, Pete Rose barreling down Ray Fosse in the All Star Game and ruining his career with a broken leg at the dish. I mean, we're not asking for that kind of intensity, but I think what we're asking for is, if you're going to make me stay up and watch this and watch these exhibitions, and we're actually trying to use our knowledge, as Josh Appelbaum did, to go towards National League and the under, we got to have some of that data, and beyond that, some of the competitiveness that you have as a pro. And I think it is on display, and we saw it a little bit late last night come out.
And I think it was pretty entertaining for a 3-2 game.
Yeah.
I thought defensively there were some really good plays made, specifically in the outfield. I thought maybe it was Olsen made a great snag on the ball to first base. Like, there was some stuff. I thought the catchers, as far as throwing guys out at second.
Yeah.
I mean, there were some dimes, on some pickoffs. So I thought it was pretty entertaining game.
Yeah, I did too. And again, I think Tim Murray's got a stud behind the plate there in Rushman for the Orioles. Obviously did real well in the home run competition. Did you enjoy that, by the way? Because again, when we talk about the big four major sports, and you got the skills competition in the NBA and certainly the NHL as well, you do the home run derby the night before. It does feel like that. It really does have a nice 1-2 effect of people, one, wagering, and two, interest. It's still there.
Yeah, and like, giving out winning plays matters to me. So
yeah.
I'm 3-1 so far on the week here on Follow the Money. Of course, my one loss was I took Mookie Betts in round 1 versus Vlad. And I don't think Vlad won the home run derby. He just finished first. He kind of dodged some bullets, I think, from round to round. But Mookie was awful.
Yeah, I mean, look, and I thought I liked Luis Robert out of the South Side of Chicago to come out of that thing.
He did good in the first round.
He did. And then he got hurt.
Yeah, the catcher from the Orioles. He did really good.
Yeah, and so we're going to talk about that a little bit later on in the program, too, for some in-pocket plays that I have. That could be, you don't expect the home run derby to potentially screw up some of your feature plays.
So what exactly was his injury? I didn't feel like they got real
he is a human muscle. I mean, if you look, he's just, so I got to think, they said, I don't know what type of strain it was, but that guy is just one gigantic muscle.
Yeah, he looked healthy in pregame when they were doing like the hour-long player introductions.
Man,
he actually looked healthy when he walked out.
Yes, maybe if it was a real game scenario,
I think they were erring on the side of caution.
He could have given it a go. And we saw it last night, by the way, with Romano for the Blue Jays, right? So he gives up the home run that isn't a home run. And by the way, while they're doing that and they're looking at a replay, he's gone.
Yeah.
Jets, I'm out, deuces.
What did Dusty say? He said he had tightness in his back or something.
And Dusty had said when he warmed up,
yeah,
he had tightness in his back. And so he's like, hey, they got to go back and finish. He's explaining, on the broadcast, he's the closer of the Jays. We're like, yeah, Dusty, we're aware. Like, he's a key cog of that Blue Jay machine if they're going to make a run in the second half. By the way, they're playing really good baseball. They're just in a hellacious division right now in the AL East.
Yeah, right before the break, Gossman even looked like a Major League Baseball pitcher again.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's like you saw I don't want to look, the White Sox, I don't believe are going anywhere. But for the Jays, that's something to keep an eye on. For Romano going forward here, at least when they come out of the break on Friday, you better look at those beat reporters and make sure he's okay. Because the idea is you get done with this break, you get to real baseball on Friday, and it's all hands on deck. Here we go to round out 162. And the Jays are one of those teams that I think people look at and go, well, did they not play as well? Or is the division just that good? Because they weren't bad in the first half. They're just not to where I think everybody expected them. They better have Romano healthy because he is that key cog. Look, ask Met fans, what's it like to not have a dependable bullpen, right? Once Sugar Diaz went out in the World Baseball Classic, the whole season has been kind of a train wreck for the Mets. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in the program as well. But, it's hard to get that back. You go, well, closers, you can go get them at the deadline. August 1st deadline is going to be here before you know it. Those guys are not irreplaceable.
They're not. And the good ones are really good. They're always in like a extremely intense, high leverage situation. Like I just, the life of a closer. Like you look back on a guy like Mariano Rivera and like what he was and did gets even like greater as the years go by. Like you're looking at Craig Kimbrell last night, like he's throwing
makes you nervous.
Good stuff, but it's a highly, highly, highly stressful position. So you're right. If you have one, you do have a huge advantage. And
again, the guys like Kimbrell, I don't think we're going to talk a lot about this over the course of the show today, because before you really make in some of those plays in the second half, certainly in the futures market, you need to look at teams that you think are going to be buyers or sellers. So a little bit later on in the program, we will get to deal or roll the dice, i.e. should you deal some players or roll the dice and say, all right, I'm going to hold on to them. And maybe I could get better market value now by dealing them, but we think we're still in it. Phillies are one of those teams. Like Kimbrell is a piece. He's been well-traveled since his Atlanta days coming up.
I feel like he's played for like the entire Major League Baseball.
He's been around the block, right? And I don't think he's one of those type of pieces, but like, should the Cardinals think about trading Arenado? We're going to talk a lot about Shohei Ohtani.
What are the Dodgers going to do? I mean, their bullpen is in a flux.
So there's so many tentacles that now that the All Star Game is done and put to bed, that you start to go, ooh, which teams are really going to be like? Are the Southsiders going to trade? They got a lot of young talent in Chicago, and it's a team that looks like it's going nowhere. And there's going to be a lot of people that want to pluck a Lucas Giolito out of the front of that rotation. And
Dylan Cease, like they got multiple guys people would like.
So if you can identify which teams you believe are going to be in the market to really be buyers, those might be teams you want to look at, certainly in the futures market. But it did cash National League and the under 3-2, baby.
Hat tip to everyone that followed me. Glad we won some bets on a really slow day from a board standpoint when it comes to sports betting.
This is supposed to be the slowest betting day of the year. We're still going to have a lot of fun and try to figure out some ways you can make some money.
We got some tennis this morning.
Yeah, we do. When we come back, we're going to talk about some win-somes and losing some. What did you do last night? What can we expect coming up? Josh Appelbaum a little bit later on, and Jeff Seeley talking golf. Come on back. Follow the money here on VSiN.
Last night? Wow, winning. Or was it a rough one?
Well, they can't all be winners, can they?
Loser! You're a loser!
Paulie Howard recaps the night in sports betting in Win Some, Lose Some.
I think we won some yesterday, certainly in the world of tennis. And if you had Svitolina against Iga Swiatek, Swiatek was the number one seed at Wimbledon. Remember, there's no T, Americans. Wimbledon with a D. They're very particular about that. Plus 500 against the number one player in the world. Goes 3 sets. She gets it done. I believe Svitolina before the tournament was 100-1 to win the whole thing. I'm not saying she will, but pretty major upset to beat the number one seed.
A lot of it, Dave, was because of the draw. They saw that she was going to have to play Swiatek, who looked unbeatable. I'll say this, as good as Svitolina played, Swiatek was awful. Unforced errors all over the place. But Svitolina took advantage.
And by the way, it's Swiatek's worst surface, right? I mean, like, for the best player on the women's side as the number one player in the world, it's her worst surface. So she was plus money to begin it, but you kind of felt like if she was going to go down, maybe it would come here at the grass courts at the All England Club. Okay, National League, we mentioned it. Minus $1.10 to beat the AL. First win for the senior circuit. Old guys. Since 2012. And like we talked about in the opening segment, Shaun, it feels like try to win this thing. I know Jeets is over there bummed out that the AL didn't win. Finally, the National Leaguers cash a ticket.
Well, it makes me feel good because I gave out National League yesterday and I gave up All Star Game under. Ooh. So 2-0 for everybody that tailed those plays. But this one does have an asterisk on it. I think historically, no Mike Trout, no Alvarez from Houston, no Aaron Judge, and then no Luis Robert as well. A lot of big bats missing from the AL side. That's
why you and I talked would have been like, man, if you look at the lineups, it feels like advantage National League. But they do get it done 3-2. You mentioned the under 7.5. Yeah, you laid a little juice, minus $1.20. But as you mentioned, even though the tickets, and Josh Appelbaum said yesterday in the program,
72% of the money was coming in on the over, yet the number did not move. Actually went down. You could get plus 105, I think, here at Circa right at first pitch.
You never really sweated that under last night, right?
No, you kind of got a little nervous a couple times around the 7th. There was kind of like first and third situations where a big shot could have put it in peril, but ultimately, no sweat.
Not a sweat. If it had been 3-3 and then they went to the janky home run.
I was hoping that I didn't get a push on the total.
That would have been a bad beat. Elias Diaz, if you had a Rocky to be the MVP.
Who?
Elias Diaz.
You mean the Rockies that are playing the All Star Game? And did the Red Sox?
They had one. 65-1 to be your MVP. 2-run shot, top of the 8th, got it done. And maybe, looked like there was going to be Yandy Diaz going to get it for the Rays. And then another Diaz steals it from him with that 2-run shot. And then, boy, it got tight in the 9th inning. But, hey, this is why they say representation. You got to have one. So the Rockies get one, and you get the MVP. I do kind of like that. That they should have a player from every team in the league.
I don't know if I agree with that, but it worked out for the Rockies in this instant. I'm going to be a Tampa Bay Ray fan, being from St. Petersburg, Florida. It was obvious that there's a reason the Rays are doing what they're doing. All of my guys stood up and stood out yesterday. Arizona, of course, was in the Home Run Derby final. Franco was tremendous in the game. Diaz at first base. I think he hit a homer early. The Rays are balling, but go ahead and get your Rays to win the World Series tickets now.
Wow. Rosarena, when he does this thing, Shaun, when he just kind of poses.
They have so much fun.
Like he had his kid out there, and he put the kid down just so he could pose once he saw the camera. I was like, this is pretty impressive.
Him and he outfielded from the Rangers with big catches early in that game. Garrett Cole was trying to give it up in the first inning.
Rather impressive. All right, Luz, let's get to, do you consider any bad beats in the All Star Game? Because, again, you can download it at the VSiN app. Listen to this. Can you hear what they're saying?
Come to Seattle.
This is for Shohei Ohtani last night. So if you lose Shohei Ohtani, this would be the ultimate lose some.
Shohei, don't do it. Don't let this July Seattle, Washington weather fool you, brother. It's not like that most of the year.
Here's the thing, though. This is good on the Seattle fan base. Look, he's not going to Seattle. I don't see a scenario that he ends up in Seattle. But this is good fandom to me. Come to Seattle for Shohei Ohtani. And by the way, Shohei, get ready for this wherever you go.
They were locked in, though, from Julio Rodriguez, first homer in the home run derby, to his plate appearance last night, runner on situation where one swing away from the American League winning. They were on top of it. I'm proud of the fan base there in Seattle. You can tell they're really into their baseball.
They're very much into it. And again, as we mentioned here, if you download the DraftKings app today, new customers can bet $5, get $150 in bonus money instantly by using the promo code VSiN, that's VSIN. When you sign up, see DraftKings.com/sportsbook for the full terms and conditions. So again, I'm totally down with that program of recruiting Shohei Ohtani. Because if you are not just Seattle, and again, Seattle's one of those teams that maybe underachieved a little bit in the first half, and we'll see if they can make a move. But now the question is, you and I were doing a show together last week, and they a fingernail issue in San Diego, and they pull him out of the game, and I'm like, this is our cash cow. This is how, if you're an angel backer, you can really replenish everything that you might need by just trading Shohei Ohtani. I don't know if they're going to do it, though, Shaun. And again, I guess the first question is, should they do it? Because you know how this is as being a star athlete, and certainly you've seen other guys that get moved, and you go, how do you move that guy? Sometimes you have to move the player because we all know he's going to be unrestricted after the year. And again, we'll talk a lot about this in whether you should deal or hold and hope for better things. But this type of treatment that we just saw last night in Seattle, this is now the big question of the second half. Does Shohei Ohtani get dealt before the August 1st trade deadline?
I would presume that he does. It's got to be a legitimate topic every day inside the Angels organization because there are some reasons to argue that he should stay with the Angels. Prior to the Mike Trout injury, they had been a lot more competitive than I think people presume coming into this season. Right. Still in the heat of the playoff race. But with the injury to Trout, what is he out, 6 to 8 weeks?
That's 2 months, essentially, if everything goes well.
Rendon basically looking like he's just stealing money. I mean, if you don't trade Ohtani, I don't see a scenario where the Angels are likely to be a playoff team. So if you can kind of restart and do it with a bunch of hot prospects and kind of envision yourself in 2 years being with the Orioles and the Reds are currently, then I think if you're the Angels, you have to seriously consider that. It'd be fascinating where he ended up, because if he hits free agency, you can kind of narrow it to a few particular teams. But a trade kind of brings in what's the best value based on return, correctly?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And again, I look at it now because of the Trout injury really was the one that was kind of the impetus. And by the way, I don't see a number. Here it is right now. For the Angels to make the playoffs right now, you can get plus 750. You can get plus 750 for the Angels to make the playoff. Maybe that tells you a little bit of where at least the betting market thinks they are, which means they're not a playoff team, right? Right now, back under 500, and this is the unofficial break in the baseball season here with the All-Star break before we get to the quote-unquote second half. But you're already 91 games in from 162, so you're well past the true halfway point of the season. And can you make up 7 games in the Rangers? Sure, you could, but are you going to pass Seattle, Houston along the way? It's not just one team you got to run down. You got to run down right now 2 other teams, and the Stros aren't coming back to the pack. I just look at it like if you're being the adult in the room, and I know that Artie Moreno, the owner, has said, I don't want to be the owner that trades Babe Ruth, essentially. We're looking at the modern day Babe Ruth. Like none of us have seen this before. I don't know that we'll see this again. But if you don't trade your modern day Babe Ruth, are you really doing an injustice to your fan base and to your team?
Well, I don't know that that's apples to apples the way Mr. Moreno put it, because, and listen, trust me, I wasn't even thought of when Babe Ruth was roaming the diamond. So this is all hearsay from a 46-year-old male.
Right.
They haven't won anything with Shohei. And he's as good as he's been, and this is no fault of his own. It's just they haven't been able to put the pieces around him to make the Angels competitive at that level. And being honest, they basically have to win their division to get in, because it looks like the entire AL East is going to make up and compromise the majority of the American League playoffs. So can they catch, they're 5th, I think, in their division right now?
4th,
so,
but that's the point, is that really the wild card feels like it's off the table.
Yeah, they're going to have to win the AL West, or they're more than likely not making the playoffs.
And again, I understand, like if your sole purpose as an owner is to get butts in the seats, you keep Shohei Ohtani. If that's the sole goal, if the sole goal is to win, then you got to. And I get it. The argument, it's sometimes it almost becomes counterintuitive, where you're still trading away the best player you've ever seen, that maybe any of us have ever seen in our lifetimes.
But if you can find a Corbin Carroll or Ellie De La Cruz,
if you can get 3 of those guys
coming back, you can sell that to your fan base.
Whew, that's a tough sell. Well, hopefully you won more than you lost last night. Certainly that's the case. When we come back, Josh Appelbaum won last night because, again, he gave out the National League and the under. We'll discuss what Josh sees in the second half of Major League Baseball. Come on back. It's Follow the Money here on VSiN.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
It is always football season here at VSiN, which is why we've already released our NFL betting guide. Our NFL betting guide is going to get you ready for the upcoming NFL season with in-depth profiles of every team, including advanced stats, proven betting systems, proprietary betting trends, plus best bets on season win totals, futures, and props. Become a VSiN Pro subscriber today for as low as $19. Get your newly released NFL betting guide, or take advantage of our summer kickoff special and get access to everything we do through the Super Bowl for just $175. Sign up today at VSiN.com/subscribe. Alongside Shaun King, Dave Ross here. It is Follow the Money here on a Wednesday. We talked a lot about the All Star Game last night, and National League getting that big win. First time for the senior circuit there in about a decade as they get the 3-2 win. The under easily cashes as well. You were on it, and so was Josh Appelbaum. You can follow Josh at Josh_Insights. Of course, does a great job here across the network. Host of Morning Bets and Market Insights. Josh, great to have you back on, my friend. And again, you get that coffee going in the morning. Shaun and I talked about it a little bit. What led you to the National League and the under last night?
Yeah, so Dave and Shaun, it's great to be with you. Really, to me, this was a data-driven play, and that's kind of my wheelhouse as a bettor. I try to, push my bias to the side and say, hey, what's the market doing? And my whole prevailing kind of philosophy is I want to be against the public and with the smart money. And also, of course, try to get a good number, try to beat the closing line. So let's take the side first off here, guys. This was a really sharp dog to fave line move in favor of the National League. Now, going into it, we knew that the American League had dominated this matchup. They had won 9 straight. I believe they were 21-4 the last 25 matchups. So you had that, don't overthink it. Just play the AL because, you're at the roulette table and it's been black, 9 times in a row. It's got to be black again. However, what happened with the market here, guys? You were getting about 60% of bets, 70% of the money on the National League. And what was key to me is that there was no let up on the line move to the National League, because when we opened this game, it was about the American League, very short favorite, minus 115, minus 120. It basically got down to a pick 'em on the day of the All Star Game. And then the really big key here to take the NL was that the NL flipped from a dog to a favorite. They actually closed around minus 120. So anytime you see a team open as a short dog, flip to a favorite, and they have that good line move in their favor, always a good indication of smart money. So that came through. You needed a late home run there to sweat that thing out. But I was on the under, guys. To me, that was a really sharp play here. You saw the fact that the public was on the over, yet that 7.5 kept getting juiced up under 7.5, minus 120. Some books even fell to 7. You had a bad hitter's ballpark there, very pitcher friendly. So another under comes through. Kimbrel made it dicey as he always does, but a sharp line move to the NL cashes, and that juiced up under cashes as well. So good day for those of us following the numbers for yesterday's game.
Yeah, absolutely. And Josh, I look at it now as we get ready for the second half of the season. Yes, we've already played more than certainly 81 games here in a 162-game season. And Shaun and I were just talking about Shohei Ohtani, and I just want to get your thoughts as you forecast in the second half, right? And I'm sitting here, I look at the adjusted win total for a team like the Angels, which is 80.5. And right now they're already under 500 with a bad close here. And now we have the news of Mike Trout being out. Like, how do you forecast, how do you handicap what you think teams might do? And that big number one question mark would be Shohei Ohtani and whether or not he's on the trade block.
Yes, I'm glad you bring this up, Dave, because I think today, one of the slowest days of the sports betting calendar, you got to scratch and claw for some action today. Might have to go to WNBA. That's pretty much the only thing to get down on. But today's a good day to me to look at futures bets. Take a step back. We've all been grinding with our head down for quite a while here for the first half. Now you get a couple days for a breather. Let's look at some futures opportunities, whether you got down before or you're looking to get down now. So Ohtani, to me, guys, that's the biggest question mark. What will the Angels do? Obviously, Trout gets hurt. You really started off the year pretty well. Ohtani right now to win the American League MVP, he's minus 750. He's getting 18% of bets, 42% of money. So he's really unbettable to win the MVP. If you're looking at the Cy Young, that could be another kind of opportunity here. He's plus 1,200. Do you think he continued to pitch well here? Right now he's getting 11% bets, 10% of the money. So Ohtani isn't really bettable in the futures market. But I would look at it as, will some team make a big trade here? I can tell you in Boston, the Red Sox are kind of in it, and the Red Sox haven't spent much money in a while here. Now, obviously, that's what Chaim Bloom is mandated to do from ownership here. But is there a team like the Red Sox, a team that we're not expecting that gets in the Ohtani sweepstakes? Obviously, you're going to have to sign him to a huge deal afterwards, but that could really change the market and really just, kind of flip everything on its head here. So Ohtani really wanted to, it was about a month ago, Dave. Maybe he was around, minus 125. That number's far too gone now. But to me, it's, does a team make a move? Is there a team like the Red Sox who has been building up these prospects and ready to make a deal? Maybe Masataka Yoshida can put in a word for Boston. I would love to see Ohtani come to Fenway Park.
Yeah, 12-1 right now for Shohei to win the AL Cy Young. And you're right. I mean, boy, you would hate to be holding on to those tickets and all of a sudden he gets dealt to the National League. I mean, that would just be one of the worst beats you could have out there possibly.
But on the flip side, if you can kind of forecast, project, and be correct in where he may end up, those odds are going to probably change significantly. How much of an impact, Josh, do you feel like Ohtani's landing spot, if and when he's dealt, has for the team he's dealt to?
Just a massive impact, Shaun. I mean, we're talking about the best two-way player since Babe Ruth, arguably. I mean, stuff you're hearing now, and it's hard to argue. He's hitting 100 on the radar gun when he's pitching. His exit velocity is over 100. We haven't seen this in pretty much forever since Babe Ruth. So if he gets dealt to a team like the Red Sox, I mean, automatically you're a contender here. Also, I think, from the perspective of the Angels, obviously they've been willing to shell out money. They gave Pujols a huge deal. Some of it worked, some hasn't. Anthony Rendon's a guy they gave a ton of money to, who's been really disappointing. But I think if you're the ownership of the Angels, you propose this guy, 10 years, $600 million. Either take it or leave it. You get an answer of whether or not he wants to stay. If he doesn't want to stay, imagine the King's ransom you're going to get if you deal him. Remember in the Juan Soto deal, obviously the Washington Nationals got a ton in return here. The package for Ohtani would be massive. If it is the Red Sox, it's probably going to include Marcelo Meyer. So I think if you're the Angels, you need an answer on whether or not he'll stay. Give him a huge contract. If he doesn't take it, I think maybe you deal him because you don't want to lose him for nothing.
Well, Josh, let me interject because you keep saying Red Sox. You're a Boston fan. I'm a Rays fan.
I'm trying to make it happen, Shaun.
I'd love to see him end up in Tampa. Make McClanahan the number 2, who's ahead of him, by the way, in the Cy Young voting if you go by the odds in Vegas. All right, let's pick a spot. I'm going to put you on the spot.
Ooh.
Where is Shohei Ohtani after the trade deadline?
Ooh, I'm going to say he stays with the Angels here. I just think when you have a player like this, unless you get a huge deal in return, you're probably not going to make this move. Also, the Angels, again, they're willing to spend money. And then Trout, what's the influence with Trout here? Ohtani can look at him and say, hey, I can make a ton of money and be mediocre, or do I want to go somewhere else? Is there a better fit? But I just think the Angels, unless you get a big return, I don't think there's anything wrong with hanging on to him and trying to make sure you get a deal in the offseason.
$600 million. That's going to be the asking price. Absolutely astounding where we are right now with Shohei Ohtani. But that will be the number one question for the next 3 weeks here in Major League Baseball. You mentioned putting the head down and kind of looking at that futures market, and I know you've done so in the NFL. And I got to pick your brain as to the team in the Mile High City. What do you expect to see from Sean Payton and Russell Wilson? Is he salvageable, and are they playable in your estimation?
So I think you're obviously going to get a boost here with Sean Payton. This is a guy who has been a fantastic track record in the NFL, did wonders with Drew Brees, obviously. I think you're going to get a boost just having Wilson, kind of with a guy, a veteran who knows how to use him in a better degree. So I think you're going to get a boost in general. But look at this win total. This is a really tough division. The win total is 8.5. They go 5-12 last year. To me, my play is to take the Kansas City Chiefs in this division, guys. I know it's chalky, but you have seen the Chiefs really roll in this spot historically. They opened like -150 to win this division. Now they're up to -165. What I like to do is look at bets and dollars. At BetMGM, the Chiefs are getting 40% of bets, but 70% of the money to win this division. You also look at their win total, 11.5. It's actually juiced up 11.5 over -120 at some shops. So even though you're taking in a lot of just, hey, don't even think about it, play them to win the division, play them obviously to win, to go over 11.5 games. They've hit 12 or more wins in 6 of the last 7 years. So to me, obviously you have the big, mile high advantage here, but I think this is a 8-9, 9-8 team. To me, the play here is don't overthink it. Take the Chiefs -165 to win this division.
It's interesting because I'm interested in losing the defensive coordinator Ivero, what kind of impact that has, because that was Denver's calling card. Mm-hmm. If they had retained him and then you improve slightly on offense, I think that 8.5 total becomes reachable. How good are they at the skill positions, Josh? I know Tim Patrick's coming off of an ACL. Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Javonte Williams. Is that good enough to be a playoff team?
I think it is if everything goes right for you, Shaun. I mean, look at what happened and what really has hurt them in previous years. To me, it's been their offensive line. I mean, I watched a game where I think Garrett Bowles, held like 25 times in one game. So you really need a good offensive line to protect Russell Wilson. And we all know when quarterbacks get sped up and they don't have the protection, Shaun, you know this, having been a QB, it really makes everything much more difficult. So if you put this team in a different division, what if they're in like maybe the AFC South, where the biggest competitor is the Jaguars, and you have some other teams with rookie quarterbacks. Maybe they're a favorite, but in this division, it's kind of tough. It's like being in the American League East in baseball. So, again, I'll take the Chiefs here. But, again, this is a team that with the Broncos, if you're giving me a dog, little plus money, maybe this is a team you look toward if they're getting points falling this year.
Yeah, plus 550 to win the division, but I'm picking up what Josh is putting down, -1.65. It does feel like the Chiefs, even though it's chalky, Josh, sometimes the chalk is going to get you home as well. Hey, man, appreciate it. Enjoy your All-Star break here for a couple days before we get back at it on Friday.
Can't wait, guys. I want MLB to return. What am I going to do the next 2 days? I have no idea.
Well, get Shohei Ohtani to Boston.
Bet Wimbledon.
There he is, everybody. Give him a follow on Twitter at Josh_Insights. Does a great job here across the network. All right, when we come back, let's dive into some Tyson Fury, Francis Ngannou. It's actually going to happen. We'll discuss next here on Follow the Money.
is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Before you make your next bet, be sure to visit VSiN.com. Check the current betting splits data. Want to know where the money and bets are moving for every single game? Well, the betting splits page is updated with DraftKings odds every 10 minutes. You can see the changes in all the action. Find out what the public is betting based on the number of tickets and where the money doesn't match the public opinion. You can check out not just today's action, but future events as well. Betting splits are another way VSiN is here to make you a smarter, better year-round. Check out today's betting splits for every game at VSiN.com. Dave Ross, Shaun King coming at you here. Follow the Money continues here on a Wednesday morning, and I guess this qualifies as big news. When I look down the odds board for future boxing events, and I see like Logan Paul or Jake Paul, whichever Paul against Nate Diaz, like that's listed. You can go bet that right now. Now, we don't have these numbers up yet here in Las Vegas, but apparently some of those houses of ill repute offshore, you can find some numbers. Tyson Fury against Francis Ngannou is set, Saudi Arabia, October 28th. Yes! It's officially happening. As expected, Fury is a massive favorite over there. They put the U in favorite to win. That's not a surprise. Here's what is a surprise to me. The numbers that we're seeing so far popular. Again, not here at Circa. Don't have these up yet. Fury, minus 500. The comeback in Francis Ngannou, plus 350. By the way, I can't wait on First Strike. Normally, we just do it for UFC. But when there's big crossover, we're going to talk about it as well. Now, you and I did hypothetical lines before our producer Luke told us what these numbers were. Mm-hmm. And I said I thought Fury should be an 8-1 favorite. And you said...
It should be minus 2,500. Like, minus 500 is a massive underlay. I mean, come on.
How do we not pull our money together?
This is a sacrifice, Dave. I mean, Ngannou has absolutely no shot.
Wow.
Tyson Fury is probably one of the best big heavyweights I've ever seen. Elite boxing, ring IQ. He can beat you in so many different ways. Like,
okay, let me make the case.
I'm happy for Ngannou. Because he's been inactive. He's not really, he's not a UFC guy anymore. He kind of left.
PFL.
So, yeah, this is a great opportunity for him to make, I'm sure, massive amounts of money. But he has no shot to actually win. If it's going to be
Queen's rules of
boxing rules, he has no shot.
We'll have to figure out. Look, there's a long way before you make these wagers, right? Because, again...
I grab that minus 500 right now if you can, because that number won't exist come fight time.
I would imagine that would go up. Yeah. Now, again, what are they going to have 8-ounce gloves? They're going to have 12-ounce gloves. Remember when Conor fought Floyd Mayweather in 2017? Remember the gloves looked massive, right? Remember that? And, again, it was like the smaller ounce gloves would favor the MMA fighter, theoretically. The idea being Ngannou's going to be the bigger puncher, but... You saw it there on display. Like Floyd Mayweather as arguably the greatest boxer you can make the case ever. And I know some people are going to pop up and go, how can you say that? Well, he never really lost inside the squared circle. And we're just talking about pure fighting here. Like boxers know how to throw punches, turn their punches over to actually articulate their motion. Whereas MMA fighters, sometimes it's not as boxing-like, if you will, right? So 4-ounce gloves is what they wear in the UFC.
Right.
Traditionally in boxing, it's 8 or 12. Mm-hmm. So, I look at it and I go, if the only way that Ngannou can win this fight is by knocking out Tyson Fury, because he's not going to beat him on points in whatever rounds this turns out to be, 12 rounds if it's legit, or if it's 10-round or 8 rounds, who knows? You're not going to win on points, right? So you got to get the guy out of there. So the thought process would be, you would think logically, the lower ounced gloves would favor the challenger, in this case, Ngannou. And look, I'm trying to sell this like Don King would sell a fight only in America in the 80s or 90s or 70s, even for Don King going back. And before people laugh and go, well, this is a joke. Okay, you might think it's a joke, but it is a real thing. It will make a ton of money. People will watch this, and kind of like Floyd against Conor. If you remember that fight, on points, Conor looked like he won maybe the first 3 rounds. And then Floyd's like, dude, I'm just playing with you.
Well, I think the difference to me, Floyd Mayweather started I think at 130 or 135.
Oh, yeah, small.
fought the majority of his career at 140, 147. McGregor's more of a 155-pound guy, so at least you were like, McGregor's a naturally bigger guy. I mean, Fury's huge. Like, Ngannou's going to fight a guy that he's got a longer reach, he's taller, he's bigger. Like, this, I'm telling you, this is a sacrifice.
Well, I remember if you guys remember this one for MMA aficionados, when Randy Couture fought James Lights Out Tony. And for us in the boxing space, like James Lights Out Tony.
That was in the octagon, right?
Yeah. And that was a sacrifice,
like,
right?
Fury wouldn't have a chance in the octagon.
And that's the point, right? If we're playing by those rules, like James Toney had to play by.
Floyd wouldn't have a chance in the octagon
against Conor.
Yeah, like it's two different things.
Are you interested at all to watch this? Because again,
absolutely, because I don't see Ngannou get knocked out. Which is what's going to happen. So absolutely,
because Ngannou, he's the predator, and we looked at him at the UFC. You can make the case one of the best heavyweight champions.
He's a really good UFC fighter,
right? But known as a puncher, like that's his one trick.
As a puncher, not a boxer,
right? And there is a difference, right? Now Tyson Fury, for all of his greatness, by the way, and I said this to you before the show, I didn't see this coming in the pantheon of great heavyweight champions. I never thought we'd be talking about Tyson Fury, but he did beat Deontay Wilder a couple times, and Wilder we looked at as the biggest puncher that we had as legit heavyweight champions. And now Ngannou is going to put on the gloves and put on shoes and socks and get inside of a squared circle. So yes, it feels ridiculous to think that Ngannou's got a shot. I'm not saying that he does, but I'm just trying to make the case that we've seen guys try to do this crossover thing. Ngannou's going to take it seriously. I don't know that Tyson Fury is, and maybe that could be part of the problem of betting Fury. Yeah. Is he really going to train hard for this quote-unquote?
That's probably the only way or avenue I see to Ngannou, because it's interesting. Deontay Wilder's really good. The only man on the face of this planet who can beat him, in my opinion, is Tyson Fury. But I would give Ngannou a better chance versus Deontay Wilder than I would against Tyson Fury.
You give Ngannou a better chance against Deontay Wilder than Tyson Fury.
Because Deontay Wilder has, explosive knockout power. Like one punch, like you're out of here. But technically, he's not really an elite boxer. Conditioning-wise, there are times when you can tell he's trying to kind of gain his win. Like Tyson's just ring IQ is so high. Like, he can grab and hold and make it an ugly fight and punch on the clinch, or he can jab and move, or he's got big power because he's a big man. Like, he's such a complete fighter. Like, I just don't think Ngannou can overcome all of those things in a boxing-style matchup.
I think of Duke, if you don't know who Duke is, Duke was the trainer for Apollo, right? And so, like, if you remember in the great Rocky sequels, where he says he doesn't think it's a damn show. He thinks it's a damn fight. Now go out there and finish this bum and let's go home. Like, I just worry that Tyson Fury is going to put on a show, because that's what Tyson Fury does. He's going to come out there. He's going to have everybody carrying him on a chair, right? It's going to look
Sweet Caroline,
right? It's going to be all that. And we're supposed to lay $5 on Tyson Fury, who's going to be a clown, like in the best sense of it, because he's going to sell the fight. I think Ngannou's going to go out there like, I want to go win. I want to go show people that I'm not a joke. I am taking this thing seriously. And I guess that's why you're seeing the dog price only at plus 350.
Yeah, I'm not biting.
I'm trying my hard sales
Unless they've
pitch.
Got some kind of secret handshake deal because they want a rematch that's going to pay like 10x the already probably $100 million they're getting for this particular matchup. Then that's the only scenario I see. Tyson Fury is elite.
Now, again, I mentioned the Paul fight. That's Jake Paul against Nate Diaz.
Now, that makes more sense.
That does?
Like, Jake Paul doesn't get enough credit for how serious he takes boxing.
That's going to be August 7th, okay? And right now, Jake Paul is a 330 betting favorite against Nate Diaz. And Nate Diaz,
I would take Jake Paul. I would lay the $3 or something, just because Jake Paul takes it serious. He's been a combat sports guy. You go back, they have video of him and his brother training way back before they became like.
And Nate was a jiu-jitsu guy.
Right.
This is a jiu-jitsu guy who slaps people, and slap.
And Nate Diaz, heck of a UFC career. I think he'll put up a valiant effort. But the only time I don't favor the Paul brothers is when they start fighting real boxers. That's when I think they'll have issues. But when they're fighting other Twitter or internet people, or they're fighting combat sports guys in a boxing ring, I like them to win those kind of competitions.
And by the way, Francis Ngannou, win, lose, or draw, you've already won. You're going to make more money in this one fight with Tyson Fury than you've ever made in your entire...
I would fight Tyson Fury for Ngannou's purse.
You would?
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to see you in there.
You could train me.
That wouldn't go well. This is VSiN's Follow the Money on the DraftKings Network.
Don't doubt me, Dave.
There's plenty more coming up today, including Go Joe Dan, Levitard, and Ross Tucker here. VSiN, Shaun, and I got you covered with the sharpest betting experts in the biz. So check out all of our latest and best analysis at VSiN.com. We've got 2 more hours to go coming up on VSiN. Jeff Seeley's going to join us to talk all things Scottish Open. If it's not Scottish, it's crap. We're going to talk golf next here on Follow the Money.